The first encounter hook and suspense. The sky above Earth was quiet, but not for long. On the edge of the solar system, an alien fleet had just entered the humans' radar. The ships were massive, far beyond anything humans had ever seen. Their dark, gleaming hulls floated ominously in space, a clear sign of their superior technology. The fleet's leader, a towering alien named Shrex, was no stranger to conquest. He had wiped out dozens of worlds across the galaxy, and now Earth was in his sights. Sir stared at the holographic display in front of him, watching the tiny blue planet spin slowly on the screen. Humans, he said with a cold smile. They believe they are strong, but I will show them their place. His voice was like thunder, vibrating with an arrogance that made the crew of his flagship uneasy. The alien fleet slowly moved closer to Earth. Their ships lined up in perfect formations. Rex had already sent a message to Earth's leaders, a warning that they had no chance of surviving. This planet will fall before the might of the Galactic Empire. Surrender now, and we may spare your people. Resist, and we will destroy you. The message echoed through every communication channel on Earth across the globe. Panic set in. People stared up at the skies, knowing that something terrible was about to happen. Governments scrambled to prepare defenses, but the world knew the truth. They had nothing that could stand up to the power of the alien fleet. Humanity was outmatched, outgunned, and out of time. But then a strange thing happened. A message came through. It wasn't from any government or military leader. It wasn't even from Earth's most powerful allies. No, this message came from an unknown source, one that no one expected. The transmission came through the alien fleet's own communication system, cutting into their broadcast with a loud crackle. Zulk's froze, eyes narrowing. He wasn't expecting a response, let alone one that would interrupt his message. What is this? He growled. The alien crew scrambled to identify the source, but the signal was encrypted, and they couldn't trace it. The message played out in front of Shrex. This is Captain Adams of the U.S. Vanguard. Earth's last hope. We do not surrender. The words were simple, that they carried weight. Humanity wasn't going to bow down. They were going to fight. The alien fleet erupted into laughter. It echoed through the ship's command center, each alien taking their turn, mocking the humans. They dare to resist. Pathetic, one of the commanders sneered. How foolish. They will learn the hard way that defiance is useless. Rex's eyes darkened. He leaned forward, his hands clenched tightly. Bring them to me. I will show them what happens to those who challenge the Empire. The Earth's leaders, hearing the transmission, were stunned. Captain Adams, the name wasn't familiar, but the ship's Vanguard was a military project that had been in development for years, yet no one knew of its true capabilities. It had always been kept secret. Now it was humanity's last hope. Back on Earth, the news spread like wildfire. People watched in disbelief as the Vanguard prepared for battle. The unknown ship, a single vessel, was all they had left. The rest of Earth's military was no match for the alien fleet's overwhelming power. But something about Captain Adams and the Vanguard gave people hope. The U.S. Vanguard wasn't a typical ship. It was humanity's most advanced warship, built with technology that no one had ever seen before. The Vanguard had been designed in secret, its weapons and defensive systems beyond anything Earth had ever created. But the ship's greatest asset wasn't its technology, it was its crew. These were the finest soldiers and engineers, led by a captain who embodied the spirit of humanity itself. Captain Adams stood at the helm, gazing out at the alien fleet. As it drew closer, he knew what was at stake. There was no going back now. His crew, though nervous, stood ready. They had trained for this moment their entire lives, and now the time had come to fight for everything they held dear. Rex's fleet was almost in range, and Earth's fate hung in the balance. The human ship was outnumbered, but it was humanity's willpower that would decide the outcome. As Captain Adams gave the order to power up the ship's weapons, a sense of anticipation filled the air. Everyone aboard the Vanguard knew what had to be done. They had to win or humanity would fall. But even as the Vanguard prepared for battle, the alien fleet was still laughing. They believed victory was certain. The aliens didn't know what was coming. They didn't know that deep within the heart of this human ship there was a power that even they couldn't predict. The first blast from the Vanguard's weapons lit up the darkness of space, the ship's energy pulses reaching out like a lightning storm. The aliens had no idea that they were about to face something that would change the course of their entire invasion. The battle for Earth had begun. The unlikely savior, the U.S. Vanguard, powered up its engines. The hum of the advanced technology vibrating through the ship. Captain Adams stood in the command center staring at the massive alien fleet on the screens. He could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on him. This wasn't just about winning a battle. This was about saving humanity from annihilation. The fate of Earth rested on his shoulders, and the shoulders of his crew captain. The communications officer, Lieutenant Morales, spoke, her voice trembling. The alien fleet is now within striking distance. Their weapons are charged. They're getting ready to fire. Adams' grip tightened on the armrest of his chair. We're not backing down. Fire. When ready, the words came out cold, resolute. His crew knew that no one had ever faced anything like this before, but Adams didn't show fear. He had faith in the Vanguard. This ship wasn't just any warship, it was humanity's greatest hope, equipped with technology so advanced that even the aliens had no idea what they were up against. As the alien fleet advanced, it became clear that their arrogance had blinded them to the true threat. They laughed at the idea of one ship taking on a whole fleet, thinking that Earth's defenses were nothing more than a joke. But what they didn't know was that the Vanguard was equipped with an experimental weapon, one that could level entire fleets in a single strike. It was a weapon that had never been tested in real combat. The alien fleet's flagship, a monstrous ship that dwarfed the Vanguard, fired the first shot. A massive beam of energy surged toward Earth's lone defender. The crew braced themselves for impact, knowing that if the Vanguard couldn't defend itself, humanity would be doomed. But Captain Adams didn't flinch. Activate shields, he barked. The Vanguard's energy shields flared to life just in time to absorb the alien beam. The ship rocked under the force, but it held strong. The crew exhaled, their hope flickering like a candle in the wind. They still had a chance. Lock on to their lid, ship, Adams ordered. Prepare to fire. The weapons officer, Commander Davis, nodded. Aye, Captain. Target locked. Fire. The Vanguard's main guns roared to life. The first shot fired out a concentrated burst of energy. It tore through space, hitting the alien flagship with incredible force. The explosion sent shockwaves through the fleet. For a moment there was silence. Then the aliens responded. Cell Rex, watching the battle unfold from his flagship, snarled in disbelief. Impossible, he muttered. How is this human ship doing this? He had underestimated humanity. He had thought the aliens were invincible, that no one could challenge the Empire. But this ship, the Vanguard, was different. It was unlike anything the aliens had encountered. Its weapons were too powerful, at its shields too strong, and worse for cracks. The humans were fighting back with a level of determination and strategy that the aliens could not match. Rig Group Rex ordered, we will not be defeated by one ship. All units engaged the human vessel. With full force, the alien fleet adjusted its formation, bringing their weapons to bear on the Vanguard. But Captain Adams wasn't caught off guard. He had anticipated this move. Take evasive action, Adams commanded. Full speed ahead. The Vanguard shot forward, narrowly avoiding a barrage of energy blasts from the alien ships. The crew worked in perfect unison, their years of training paying off. The ship darted through space, twisting and turning to avoid incoming fire, while the weapons officers fired back with deadly precision. The battle raged on, and the Vanguard continued to hold its ground forever. Every alien ship that fell, the humans gained a little more confidence. They weren't just defending, they were fighting for their survival. And they were winning. Z-Rex's fleet was starting to take damage, and the alien commander realized that his forces were no longer invincible. His confidence faltered, replaced by a growing sense of panic. How could this be? How could one human ship be so powerful? He watched as the Vanguard launched another round of deadly energy blasts. A few more alien ships exploded in flashes of light, and the remaining aliens began to pull back, fall back. Suri shouted, we must retreat. The humans are stronger than we thought. But it was too late. The Vanguard, fueled by the desperation of humanity's will to survive, pressed the attack. The alien fleet was scattered, retreating in disarray, unable to keep up with the relentless assault from the lone human manip. As the battle continued, Captain Adams stood tall, his eyes fixed on the screens. There was still much to be done. But humanity had made a statement they weren't going down without a fight, and the aliens had learned the hard way that they had underestimated Earth. The tide had begun to turn, but the battle was far from over. The alien fleet was retreating, but their pride would not let them leave. Without trying to regain control, the vanguard wasn't finished yet. Neither were the humans. The battle begins. The alien fleet, stunned by the power of the vanguard, was now on the defensive. Their aunt's confident posture had crumbled, and they scrambled to regroup. Rex watched as his flagship sensor showed more of his fleet being obliterated with each passing second. His pride was being crushed under the weight of humanity's unexpected resistance. Captain, the communications officer on the Vanguard, spoke nervously. We've inflicted heavy damage, but they're not retreating entirely. They're regrouping and reading another assault. Adams knew this wasn't over. The aliens, although retreating, still had the strength of numbers on their side, and they wouldn't give up easily. He looked at the crew around him. Their faces showed determination, but the battle was far from won. Stay sharp, everyone, he said, his voice calm, even though inside he knew the worst was yet to come. We hold the line. We show them that humanity won't be wiped out without a fight, and we'll keep proving that until they leave the Vanguard. Shields flickered slightly from the strain of absorbing enemy fire, but they held strong. This ship wasn't just an impressive show of firepower, it was built for endurance. The humans aboard it weren't just fighting for survival, they were fighting for a future outside the ship. The alien fleet was pulling back into formation. The aliens were regaining their composure, realizing that their initial superiority in numbers didn't guarantee victory. The Vanguard, small but powerful, had proven that a single ship could turn the tide of battle, and now the aliens knew they had to fight harder to crush this one remaining hope of humanity. Zalx growled in frustration. He had seen entire planets fall before his might, with no resistance. But here humans were fighting back with a ferocity he hadn't expected. These humans, their spirit is stronger than their technology, he muttered, but they cannot win. He wasn't about to let one ship stand in the way of his conquest. The alien fleet reformed, and now they began to close in. Trex gave the order to fire again, and the fleet unleashed a beach of energy blasts. This time, the intensity was greater, hoping to break through the Vanguard shields once and for all. The Vanguard rocked under the force of the incoming fire, alarms blaring throughout the ship. The crew held on, bracing for impact. Captain Adams stood resolute, his focus never wavering. Status report: Adams barked. Shields at 60%. Commander Davis responded quickly. We can hold a little longer, but we need to retaliate before they bring down our defenses. Adam nodded. Prepare the main weapons, take out their lead ships, make them regret underestimating us. The weapons officer, Lieutenant Drake, moved swiftly, his hands flying over the controls locked onto their lead ship. Captain, ready to fire. Fire. Captain Adams commanded. The Vanguard's guns unleashed another barrage of destructive energy aimed at the lead alien ship in the formation. The blasts hit with precision, tearing through the alien ship shields and smashing into its hull. The alien ship erupted in a massive explosion, breaking apart in the cold void of space. The blast sent a shockwave rippling through the alien fleet. Zell Rex's flagship shuddered from the force, and for the briefest moment, his confidence wavered. It had been a long time since he had been challenged like this. The thought that he and his fleet could actually lose to these primitive humans was almost unthinkable. The alien fleet, despite their orders to keep fighting, began to break apart. Some ships veered off course, unsure of their next move. The Vanguard, though battered, was far from finished. Each alien ship that fell gave the crew more confidence. The battle was turning, and humanity's will was proving to be as strong as the technology they had at their disposal. Enemy fleet is scattering. Lieutenant Morales called out their retreating captain, but Adams knew this wasn't the end. Let them regroup, he ordered. We finish this now. The Vanguard pushed forward, engaging the scattered alien ships one by one, firing relentlessly. Each blast that hit an alien ship seemed to fuel the human resolve. The aliens, realizing they had underestimated the power of human determination, began to panic. Their retreat turned into chaos on the alien flagship. Z-Rex's fury grew with each passing moment. He could not allow this embarrassment to continue. Gather the fleet, he roared. We will crush them. Now no more hesitation. But the Vanguard wasn't finished. The human crew worked together with a unity the aliens couldn't comprehend. Every member, from the engineers below decks to the commanders in the control room, worked as one, pushing the limits of the ship's capabilities. Even the injured continued to serve, refusing to leave their posts. With one final powerful blast, the Vanguard struck the alien flagship. The ship exploded in a blinding flash, sending debris scattering across space. The remaining alien ships, now leaderless and in disarray, began to retreat in full, realizing that their might was no match for the unyielding spirit of humanity. The battle was won, but as the alien fleet retreated into the depths of space, the crew of the Vanguard knew that the war was far from over. The aliens would regroup, they would return, but humanity had proven something powerful. Today, no matter the odds, no matter the force they faced, humans would never surrender. The unexpected power as the Vanguard continued its relentless assault. The alien fleet began to retreat, but not in an orderly fashion. Panic was spreading among their ranks, the shock of seeing their powerful warships fall before a single human vessel had rattled their confidence. Zell, still fuming with rage, attempted to rally his commanders. But the retreating fleet was already in chaos on board the Vanguard. Captain Adams knew that this victory wouldn't last long. He had bought humanity time. But he couldn't forget that the aliens were far from beaten. They would regroup, rearm, and return stronger than ever. The question was, could the Vanguard hold them off? Once again, Captain Lieutenant Morrell is called out from your station. We've detected a new fleet signature. It's large, and it's moving fast. Looks like they're coming back with reinforcements. Adams didn't hesitate. All hands brace for another engagement. Get us ready, people. We're not done yet. Just as the crew prepared for another round of combat, something unexpected happened. In the chaos of the alien retreat, the Vanguard sensors picked up something on the edge of the fleet, a strange, unfamiliar energy signature. It wasn't like the usual alien weaponry they had encountered. It was something far more powerful, and it was heading directly toward them. What's that? Commander Davis asked, peering at the screen. It's unlike anything we've seen before. It's not a ship, said Lieutenant Drake, his voice filled with disbelief. It's a weapon. Before anyone could respond, the strange energy surged toward the Vanguard. The human ship tried to maneuver, but the unknown weapon was fast, too fast. In an instant, the beam collided with the Vanguard shields, sending a massive shockwave through the hull. The Vanguard shook violently, alarms blaring, and a deep rumble echoed through the entire ship. The shields are failing, cried Lieutenant Moore, panic creeping into her voice. We can't hold it off much longer. The crew worked frantically, trying to reroute power to the shields, but the unknown weapon kept pouring energy into them, overwhelming the Vanguard's defenses. The ship rocked once again as another blast from the alien weapon hit. Captain Davis shouted, "We can't take much more of this. We need a plan, or we be destroyed." Adams' mind raced. The situation was growing increasingly dire. He had never anticipated that the aliens would have such a powerful weapon hidden within their fleet. His options were dwindling, and he had to act fast. He knew that if they didn't find a way to stop this weapon, the Vanguard and humanity's last hope would be obliterated. Then, in that moment of desperation, Adams remembered something, a classified project, a last resort weapon that had been built into the Vanguard. It had been kept secret even from most of the crew, a weapon that could counteract any energy-based attack. It was risky, dangerous, and never tested in battle, but it was their only shot at survival. Activate the arc cannon. Captain Adams commanded, his voice steady despite the urgency of the situation. The crew froze for a moment, confusion spreading among them. Sir, the arc cannon, it's not operational. We haven't. I don't care. Adams cut them off. We don't have a choice. Do it now. Reluctantly, Lieutenant Drake and the weapons team rushed to their stations. The arc cannon was humanity's last-ditch weapon, a device designed to channel massive amounts of energy in a single blast, powerful enough to neutralize even the most advanced alien technology. But it had never been tested. They had no idea if it would work, or if it would even be stable. As the alien weapon fired another blast, Adams held his breath. This was it. Our cannon charging. Lieutenant Drake called out, his voice trained. We need 5 seconds. Just 5 more seconds. The Vanguard shook again, And this time, the crew could hear the groan of the ship's hull as the pressure mounted. It was a race against time. The arc cannon was their last chance, but even with all the power they could muster, that there was no guarantee it would work. Firing now, Lieutenant Drake shouted. A brilliant flash of light erupted from the Vanguard's bow. The arc cannon discharged a massive surge of energy, a crackling beam of raw power that shot toward the alien weapon. The collision was deafening. A shock wave reverberated through the space around them, and the alien weapon exploded in a brilliant burst of light. The shock of the blast sent the Vanguard spiraling up of control, but the crew managed to regain their bearings. The alien fleet fell silent. Adams looked at the sensor readouts, his heart pounding in his chest. The alien weapon was gone, vaporized. The way was clear. We did it, Commander Davis said in disbelief. We stopped it. The crew let out a collective sigh of relief. But Adams knew this victory was only temporary. The alien fleet was still out there, and now they were angry. The arc cannon had proven that humanity had the power to fight back, but it had also shown the aliens that they weren't going to win easily. This battle's not over, Captain Adams muttered to himself, but we've shown them something they'll never forget. The alien fleet, now wary of the Vanguard's unexpected power, began to regroup, but for now Earth's last hope had survived. Humanity had proven that even against the most impossible odds, they would never be completely defeated. Turning the tide, the Vanguard's crew had been pushed to their absolute limits, but they were holding their ground. The alien fleet, though severely damaged, wasn't about to give up. The blast from the arc cannon had destroyed their most powerful weapon, but it had also shaken their morale. Rex, enraged by the loss of his secret weapon, began to strategize again. His pride was on the line, and the humiliation of being beaten by a single human ship stunned like nothing else. Captain Adams, on the other hand, knew that this battle was far from over. The Vanguard had survived the worst, but their energy reserves were low, and the ship had taken significant damage. Even though they had managed to hold off the aliens, so far they couldn't keep this up forever. The alien fleet was still strong, and it was only a matter of time before they regrouped and attacked with everything they had. Captain, the alien fleet is retreating, but they're not giving up entirely. Lieutenant Morrill is reported they're pulling back to regroup. It looks like they're trying to form a new strategy. Adams stood at the command center, staring at the screen that showed the retreating alien ships. He knew they would come back stronger, faster. He had to act before they did. Get me a report on our systems, Adams ordered. How much longer can we keep fighting? Commander Davis was quick to respond. Our shields are at 40%, Captain, and our weapons are operating at half capacity. The arc cannon is recharging, but it'll take at least 20 minutes before it's fully powered up again. We can't last much longer without reinforcements. The words hit Adams like a punch to the gut. Reinforcements. Earth's last hope was tied to the Vanguard, and right now the Vanguard was hanging by a thread. There were no reinforcements. There was no backup. It was just the crew of this one ship against the might of the alien empire. Captain, we have a message from Earth. Lieutenant Morrill has spoke up again. It's from a high command. Adams turned his attention to the screen. A small image of General Carter, one of Earth's military leaders, appeared. The general's face was grim, as if he knew the full extent of the situation. Adams, General Carter said, his voice strained. We're doing everything we can to send reinforcements, but it'll take too long. You have to hold on. We believe the aliens are planning a final assault. You're Earth's last line of defense. We're counting on you. Adams nodded, though his heart was heavy. He understood the gravity of the situation. Earth had no other option. The Vanguard had to hold the line. Understood, General. Adams replied, we won't let you down. We'll hold them off until help arrives. But even as he spoke the words, Adams knew they were running out of time. The aliens were gathering again, and their next assault would be their fiercest yet. Humanity had already proven its strength, but now they had to prove that they could do the impossible. Hold off an entire alien fleet with nothing but one ship and sheer determination. As the alien ships began to regroup, Adams gathered his senior officers together. This is it, he said, his voice filled with resolve. We've already won one battle, but we have to win this one too. The aliens won't stop until they've wiped us out. But they don't understand what they're up against. They don't understand humanity. The officers looked at each other, their faces filled with a mix of fear and fierce pride. They knew what was at stake. "We'll fight," Commander Davis said, his voice firm. "We won't give them the chance to take Earth. We'll fight to the end." The crew prepared for the final showdown. The Vanguard was battered, its weapons and shields struggling to hold together. But its crew was unyielding. Each officer, each soldier aboard the ship was prepared to lay down their life for Earth as the alien fleet closed in again. Ready to unleash their full fury, the Vanguard prepared to meet them head-on. Every crew member had one goal: now to turn the tide of the battle once again. They had done it before, and they would do it again. The fight for Earth wasn't just about technology or firepower. It was about humanity's refusal to be defeated. The alien fleet, still overconfident despite their losses, charged toward the Vanguard's wrecks, had no intention of retreating this time. This would be the final battle, and he would crush the human ship once and for all. The Vanguard's weapons powered up, and Captain Adams stood tall, watching as the alien fleet came into range. "Target their lead ships." Adams ordered. All cannons fire at will. The first volley from the Vanguard shook the darkness of space, hitting the alien ships with pinpoint accuracy. Explosions erupted as the alien fleet scrambled to respond, but the humans were faster. Each shot, each calculated move sent shockwaves through the alien fleet. Cell wrecks, flagship still intact, but now battered, fired back with all its might. The Vanguard shields flared and cracked, but they held. The human ship fought back fiercely, not just to survive, but to win. And then something unexpected happened. As the Vanguard continued its relentless assault, the alien fleet began to slow down. Their retreat wasn't as orderly this time. They were disorganized, their ships taking heavy losses with each passing moment. Z-Rex's rage was palpable. "We will not lose to these creatures," he screamed, but even his fury couldn't stop the inevitable. The Vanguard pressed on with every blast. With every shot, they destroyed alien ships and forced the rest of the fleet to retreat. Rex, realizing he could no longer win, ordered the remaining ships to pull back. But the damage had been done. The humans had proven that they were a force to be reckoned with. The battle had turned. Humanity had not only held its ground, they had begun to win the final showdown. The alien fleet, now battered and retreating, wasn't going down without one final push. Rex, though furious and desperate, refused to admit defeat. The Vanguard had destroyed many of his ships, and now there was only one thing left to do: strike the humans with everything they had prepared the fleet for a full assault. Rex's voice thundered over the comms. "We will annihilate them. No more delays. We will show these humans what true power is." Despite the damage to his own fleets, Rex's words were filled with fire. The remaining alien ships regrouped, pulling together for a final coordinated attack. They were determined to destroy the Vanguard and crush humanity's last hope. On the Vanguard, Captain Adams stood at the helm, his face a mask of resolve. He knew this was the moment that would decide everything. The Vanguard was in rough shape, shields down to 20%, weapons at less than half power, and the crew exhausted. But they weren't giving up. "This is it," Adams said, his voice calm but firm. "They're coming for us. With everything they've got, we're going to finish this. We fight not just for survival, but for our future." The crew nodded in unison. There was no turning back now. Every officer, every soldier aboard the Vanguard knew that they were in the fight of their lives. They weren't just defending Earth anymore. They were defending the very idea that humanity could stand tall in the face of overwhelming odds. The alien fleet closed in its massive ships, forming a wall of destruction. The Vanguard, small by comparison, was alone in the vastness of space. But the humans aboard the ship didn't care about the size of their enemies. What mattered was their will to survive and to fight for their home fire. "Everything we got," Adams ordered. The Vanguard's weapons unleashed a devastating barrage. The first wave of fire hit the alien ships hard, cracking their shields and tearing through their hulls. The Vanguard wasn't as powerful as it once had been, but it had enough left to keep the aliens on the defensive. But the alien fleet was relentless. They returned fire with devastating force, sending energy blasts streaking toward the Vanguard. The ship shuddered with each impact, The hull groaning under the pressure. The crew could hear the metallic screeching of the ship as the blasts rocked the structure, but they didn't falter. Adams gritted his teeth. Hold steady, keep fighting. We can do this. As the battle raged on, the alien ships began to swarm the Vanguard. It was a desperate final attempt to overwhelm the human ship. Z-Rex's flagship led the charge, firing with precision, aiming to bring down the Vanguard once and for all. But Captain Adams wasn't done yet. His tactical mind was always calculating, always watching for an opening. He knew that if they could survive this onslaught for just a little longer, they could turn the tide. There was one more weapon left, one last card to play, and it could be their salvation. Prepare the arc cannon, Adams ordered, his voice cutting through the chaos. We don't have much time charging the AR cannon now. Lieutenant Drake called out, his voice strained. The weapon had already been used once, but it wasn't fully powered up. It would take everything the Vanguard had left to charge it, and even then they had no idea if it would be enough to break through the alien defenses. The alien fleet surged forward, closing the distance. The Vanguard shields were failing, and the ship was starting to take on water. Metaphorically speaking, the hull was breached in several places, and the engines were on the verge of giving out. 10 seconds until the arc cannon is ready, Drake shouted. The alien ships closed in, and the flagship fired one final massive blast that tore through the Vanguard's already weakened shields. The crew braced for impact, but just as the energy blast neared, the arc cannon charged to full power. Firing arc cannon, Lieutenant Drake yelled. The Vanguard's bow erupted in a blinding flash of energy, a concentrated beam of raw power that shot straight toward the alien flagship. The beam collided with the flag shield, pushing back with such force that the alien ship staggered under the pressure. The energy from the arc cannon pierced the shield and shattered the alien ship's hull in a single explosive instant. The flagship exploded into a blinding burst of light debris, scattering across space. The rest of the alien fleet faltered, their momentum halted by the loss of their leader. The aliens, now leaderless and shaken, started to scatter. Their once unified assault was now in disarray. Zal's flagship, the symbol of their might, was gone. The remaining alien ships turned and began to retreat. Their confidence shattered, their morale broken. The humans had done the impossible. They had broken the back of the alien invasion. Captain Adams, though exhausted and battered, stood tall as he watched the alien ships retreat. He knew the battle was over. The humans had won. Send a message to Earth, Adams said, his voice filled with quiet pride. Tell them humanity lives. Victory and aftermath. As the Vanguard floated in the void of space, the battle-worn ship stood as a testament to humanity's resilience. The alien fleet, now in full retreat, scattered into the depths of space, unable to recover from the decisive blow dealt by the Vanguard. The once invincible force had been humbled by the unyielding spirit of humanity, and for the first time in a long time, Earth had